I don't get this at all. I thought Lopan...
Shut up, Mr. Burton. You were not brought into this world to get it. Rather to listen to episode 312 of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Retro Systems Online. Reflux capacitor fluxing. Scanning movie space-time for Big Trouble in Little China, 1986. Rewinding in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I am your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, also known as the driver of the Pork Chop Express. And I'm joined by your exo and mine, Paul, the PaulJPowers.com. Is he the hero? Is he the sidekick? We don't know. Powers.
It's all in the .com. PaulJPowers.com, that is.
Also, for this discussion of the film Big Trouble in Little China, we are welcoming back aboard clergy chief of the pod, Dustin Warford. Hey, Dustin.
Hey, guys. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here.
Weren't you just here? Hold on.
I was here last week.
Wait, hello? No, yeah, you're still here. Okay.
Still here. And
Still
this,
here.
this movie's fitting because it's big, kind of like me.
Wow.
So.
All right. And if there's fortunately though, as big a deal as Dustin is, there's room on the pod for one more. We are glad to have back aboard Feelings Officer Patrick Patch Hicks. Hey, Patch.
Hello. My mind and my spirit are in sync, so I can cut a bottle if you need me to.
Oh,
nice.
I have a ball right here, so that actually works out perfectly.
Not that bottle.
Nothing a quadruple.
Not that bottle. This bottle.
Oh, that. Well, I'm not feeling so well anymore. They're out of sync.
Yeah, I don't have a bottle. I just have cheese here, and I don't want you cutting it. Oh, sorry.
Fart jokes aside. Now that you have a quick flyby of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for Big Trouble in Little China?
Yes. The one in 1986, right?
Well, yes, directed by John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall.
You know what? I think I got it this time.
Oh, okay. Oh, phew. Okay, go for it.
Big Trouble came out on May 30th, 1986. It was rated R. Runs an hour and 33 minutes. It was directed by John, right? Cassavetes and Andrew Bergman. Written by Andrew.
Nope. You got the wrong one again. PaulJPowers.com.
That could have been brought to my attention yesterday.
Which one is it? Is this the Ranma 1/2 movie, Big Trouble in China?
No, this is Big Trouble in Little China. John Carpenter, 1986, with Kurt Russell and Kim Cattrall.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. All right, hold on.
And the grandpa from Three Ninjas.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad we're reviewing this movie and not that one.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Three Ninjas.
Oh, my gosh.
No?
No. Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh. Big Trouble, in Little China?
I
Why is
think.
there a comma there? Anyway, the one in 1986, right?
Yes.
All right, there's no comma there. Your notes are wrong. All right, Big Trouble, no comma in Little China. It was released July 2nd, 1986. And I'm sure it was a big 4th of July blockbuster that ran an hour and 39 minutes. It was rated PG-13. It was directed by this John Woodworker dude.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was written by Gary Oldman. Hey, he was in our last episode.
Gary Goldman, Paul.
Oh, sorry. Gary Goldman. And along with David Weinstein and W.D. Richter, with lead stars being Kurt Russell, Dennis Dunn, Kim Cattrall, James Hong, Victor Wong. Shall we go on? No, let's go to the music composed by John the Woodworker guy and Alan Howarth. Are you ready for some box office trivia?
First off, it's John Carpenter. To anyone that's like, I've never heard of John Woodworker guy. Who is he? John Carpenter. Yeah. Paul's making a joke. I am ready. Dustin and Patrick, you guys ready to guess where this ranged in the 1986 movies?
I really want to guess how many people aren't going to get Paul's joke on that one. That's what I'm really curious.
That's a better guess right there.
Oh my gosh. And anyone here in chat is welcome to join in guessing. Go for it, Paul.
All right, Big Trouble, No Comma, in Little China was made for about $25 million and earned just over $11 million in the box office.
Not so much with that blockbuster July 4th weekend.
Someone was in big trouble. Given this fact, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released theatrically in 1986? And we'll go for the top 86.
86, okay. Let's see, Dustin, what is your guess?
Given that box office wise it sucked, we're going to number 86.
Yes.
I'll say 71.
71, okay. Patch, what's your guess?
I'll go a little bit higher. I'll go with 65.
65. In chat, we have some awesome guesses. Bobo guesses 13. Oh, a lot higher. Star Fox 20. B. Greer 30. I am going to go with my birth year of 81. So, given all that, Paul, where did it rank?
According to the-numbers.com, Big Trouble in Little China came in at number 70.
70. Okay, so
the Warlord wins again.
Wow,
but I will not join him.
Oh my gosh.
You had your chance.
Yes.
Wow, that's
Good
a
job,
deep
Dustin.
cut I don't think anyone will get, but okay. Anyway, thank you guys for joining on that. And thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we will get into once Alice has located our target film.
Alert. Alert. Target located. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
Remember the name, Jack Burton.
Who? Jack Burton. Me. Where's Jack?
Jack!
Everybody relax, I'm here.
How are you gonna spring us?
I have no idea.
He's coming to rescue your summer.
Hey, what more can a guy ask for?
Big Trouble in Little China. Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, July 2nd at a theater near you.
Yes, he's coming to save our summer. But do we remember how much of it he saved? Let's find out in our memory mind meld synopsis for Big Trouble in Little China. The computer who wore tennis shoes. Wow.
Nice.
Escapes from New York through a Stargate to Little China while driving a big rig with his best friend, and they see a mail order green-eyed bride get kidnapped. So they are off to rescue with Ego to help. I don't know who Ego is, but okay. They get caught going overboard when everybody uses kung fu magic gunfighting with ancient cult warriors and supernatural monsters. Is it me, or did Mortal Kombat steal these guys and make them cool? A knife throw to the head, exploding bad guys, the prisoners are free, and everyone escapes, including Beastman, as they drive off in a literal monster truck. Of course, John Carpenter throws in some weird animal alien for a sequel that never materializes. The check is in the mail. Wow. Okay. I mean, I think that's actually perfect. No deception. Oh, wait. No, there is quite a bit that was not quite in line with the movie. So we were all deceptive. But based on those memories, as flawed as they were, what rating did they lead you to predict for this film before you rewatched it? Let's start with Dustin. What is your prediction for Big Trouble in Little China before you rewatched it, and when did you first watch this movie?
So I remember watching this movie at a very young age. I'm thinking third or fourth grade. Even,
oh wow! Okay.
As a kid, I loved this movie as a kid. This was one of our go-tos growing up. Me and my brothers. I have a lot of siblings. I'm number 7 of 15 kids.
Whoa!
Wow.
And there's 9 boys in my family, and this was all the time we'd watch this movie. So, super fond memories. So for that reason, I hadn't seen it in a long time prior to this, but, I predicted classic because I look back at this movie and had nothing but smiles thinking about watching it.
Okay. Awesome. Patch, what was your prediction and when did you first see this movie?
Well, I predicted nostalgic, and the first time I watched this was late stage college. Okay. So it was kind of retro at that point too. And then I revisited it for Feelin' Film, where you came on and guested with me, episode 110, if you want to check that out.
Wait, we covered this before on Feelin' Film?
Did.
I don't remember.
I know. 400 episodes, you kind of miss, you figure out like, wait, I think we did that. There were a couple.
Was I on it?
You were not on. It was just me and Francisco.
Oh, me neither. I wasn't there.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this is completely brand new.
This is brand new. Yeah. So if you want to listen to me and Francisco talk about the film, I'll probably say several things here that we said back then. But
what? Anyway, I need brand new material, Patch.
Yeah. Otherwise, Dustin and I are here for a rerun.
I'm just gonna insert audio from the podcast.
Oh, there you go.
Just phone it in.
Oh, no.
Literally,
wait, when did Aaron get here? What?
Yeah, right. He was at a film festival. That's why Francisco came on.
Oh, cool.
So
anyway, but I predicted this would be nostalgic. Based off of the most recent watch, which was the one for me and you.
Okay, awesome. Paul, how about yourself? What was your prediction, and when did you first see this?
So, like Patch, I missed the craze of this in the 80s. I did not see this young. And I had heard people reference it that they liked it. Some people really liked it, but general consensus was it's good, but it's not great, but they enjoyed it, kind of a thing. And so the curiosity got the better of me about 5 or so years ago, and I watched it for the first time then. And I found it way over the top where the main character is inept, and I did not enjoy it. So I predicted tragic.
Tragic. Wow. Okay. For me, I guess I'm in the same boat with Paul and Patch in that I didn't see this until my adulthood. I forget when exactly it was. I want to say it was maybe around 10 years ago. I just found myself very enamored with John Carpenter and his films. So I started collecting the Shout Factory Steelbook releases, started watching more and more of them. And this was one of the ones I hadn't seen and saw. I was like, at first I was like, okay, yeah, I started with Paul as over the top, but in subsequent viewings, I liked it more. So, I actually predicted nostalgic, for me. So it'll be interesting to see how those predictions pan out. But first, let's get into the things we liked about this film. So I'll start that off for us.
Best bits.
And let's begin with Patch. What's one thing you liked about Big Trouble in Little China?
Well, I will have to start with the setting, this mythology. I love this comic book-esque way in which we get right into the story. You've got Egg giving a little recap, complete with a little magic demo at the end of it. And then we cut back to all this stuff that has come to be known as typical John Carpenter filmography type stuff, cinematography, this grittiness and it feels very 80s, but that's what kind of makes it charming, right? Because the fact that it's not CGI for the most part, there's practical effects or CGI, there's a kind of a mix of both. And it feels very much grounded. And then when you add a supernatural flavor to it, it really makes it feel sort of comic book-esque. So you have this real world Chinatown that has this underworld with all these other weird things that start to happen. And I love how the story itself, using the setting of Little China, takes us from this is weird to wait, that's not supposed to happen. Wait, what did I get myself into? It's essentially the mind of Jack Burton that we're living vicariously through in the way in which he approaches this. But all that's set up by the fact that we're not automatically in a fantasy world. We start in this real world, this gritty New York setting that feels like it has history.
San Francisco.
I'm sorry, San Francisco. Sorry, not New York.
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York, yeah. I did escape from New York, actually, and then I came here to Little China. So,
I see.
Okay. On the way to Escape from LA. Okay.
Yeah, I was
down via Antarctica. It's crazy.
Exactly. There was this thing that was chasing me. I couldn't remember what it was. Anyway, yeah. But the idea of San Francisco, and it's, you kind of want to believe that all this stuff would exist because of the fact that you get introduced to Little China and all of its little idiosyncrasies. I love the fact.
Sorry.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I love everything about the fact that you want to know more. You get a lot in 90 minutes and you're kind of left going, what else is there? Even though the story is complete. So I think having the setting being Little China in this gritty kind of cinematography built way was really fantastic.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, I guess I'll have more to say about some of that later, but I will add to that with my first like, which the production of this, I mean, you sort of said a lot to it already, Patch, so I'll just summarize, but I loved I sort of played my cards a little bit with that. I'm enjoying John Carpenter more and more as a filmmaker. Not all his movies, some of them are like, but I mean, Ashley loves Starman so much, right?
I like that character when Mario gets him out of the box and he makes you invincible.
I'm kidding. I had her watch it and she's like, don't ever make me watch that again. But, Starman's fine. All that being said, I really like his direction over these actors. I love his sort of off-screen friendship with Kurt Russell. Like, they just like making movies together. And I enjoy that. I'm one of these guys that I hate it when there's drama behind the scenes on a set. I want everyone to be just friends and have a fun time. And for whatever reason, that makes me watching the movie I'm watching even more enjoyable. So, and I think that comes through in this. So I also really, I love Dean Cundey as the cinematographer. He did Back to the Future. He did the original Halloween, several of John Carpenter's movies. He's just such a great cinematographer. The music of John Carpenter, I really enjoy. The special effects. I love 80s special effect lightning. I love the way it's animated. Yes. It looks, CG
it doesn't look real, but it looks cool.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's like this weird in between of realness but eminently cool. So I really enjoy seeing a lot of that in this. So yeah, just the overall film production from all different angles is my first like. Let's go to Dustin next. What's one thing you really enjoyed?
I really liked the pace of this movie. I feel like it starts from the get-go. You know, you get to meet Jack and, you know, you meet his friends, they're gambling, but then it dives right into the girl gets kidnapped. They go to rescue her, and it never seems like there's a slow moment in the movie. There's definitely small little breaks. Like, you know, they go to the bar. All right, what's our next plan of action? Mm-hmm. But then they dive right back into it. So I love that they fit
the pacing
so much
really well
into a 90-minute movie. Whereas I know we've done some reviews here where we're like, this movie could have been 30 minutes shorter. Oh my gosh. Like, why yeah, exactly. That movie could have been about 2 hours shorter. But, if you haven't listened to that one yet, do it. I was on that one too. It was fun to bash that movie.
Wow.
But this movie did so much in its allotted time, and I felt like you never had a chance to get bored. It was one thing to the next thing to the next thing. But at the same time, it didn't feel rushed. You know, like they developed what they wanted to develop and did the fights they wanted to do and drew out the lore of Lo Pan and everything. So you understood what was going on. And it was fun. It kept your attention the whole time.
Awesome.
So here's the challenge with that, Dustin. I think I agree with you for the most part that it's all there. Where I get frustrated is when movies have too many interesting characters and they have an agenda. In this case, it's Lo Pan and his story, but there's all this other stuff too. You've got that gang war that Jack and Wang run into.
That's why Jack asks every 15 minutes, what is that? What's going on?
Exactly. Yeah. And so there's a lot there. I mean, I was thinking about Adventures in Babysitting, because this is what I do when I come on the show, about the Lords of Death. Kind of remind me of the Lords of Hell from Adventures. I was like, are they on a subway? Are they about to throw knives at people? What's going to happen? Yeah. But you've got all these other different things happening in the movie that definitely serve that mythology that I mentioned earlier. But they have an interest level that kind of gets me to a place where I go, oh, but I'd like to know a little bit more. Like, what about this history? Now, it didn't make the movie bad. It just, sometimes you get a little too interesting for your own good. And I don't think, that's my problem. That's not John Carpenter's problem.
I was about to say, that's great because it leaves you wanting more, right?
It does.
So if they made a sequel, you'd have been like, yes, there's more.
Or an offshoot. Give me a prequel about the history of how all this came to be before you get Lo Pan, because again, there's enough hinted there that makes me feel as though I'm missing something. And yes, it's great because you're wondering, but sometimes it's a little too interesting. And I guess it's more of a credit to the storytelling than anything else. So it's sort of a backhanded compliment to say, I agree with you, but I wanted more because there were other things in there that could have been done without. I think you could have done without the gang war because they didn't really serve the overall thing. There's a couple other things that I felt like definitely could have been removed, but we'll get there. But I sort of agree with you halfway in that, yes, the pacing was great. I wanted more though, but that's because John Carpenter did a great job with bringing these other characters to life.
Was that your second like, Patch? Is that where you're going?
It was actually, to the point of the number of characters and really going back to comic books, you've got to have great names to go with characters. You've got Egg Shen, you've got the Pork Chop Express, you've got Gracie Law, who should be the reporter. That's a reporter.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
She's a lawyer, though. That's
but Gracie Law sounds more
the word
like.
The name Law isn't fitting for a lawyer?
I never felt like she was a lawyer, though. Like, she felt more like an investigative journalist.
Yeah.
More so
her
than
personality was more of a reporter.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
that's what I'm saying. And so,
not her name.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Well, but Gracie Law sounds like a reporter name to me.
No, it sounds like an attorney to me.
Okay, you know
that's what? Too on the nose. Anyway,
before Patch continues to step over my classic maker over and over again, go ahead and give any final thoughts, because I know this is your second Patch.
So just I think character names and the personalities that go with them have to mesh really well to sound really good. I thought that the Storms, okay, but you don't get to say them a lot. Like in Gone in 60 Seconds, Memphis Reigns is a fantastic name in that movie, but it's barely ever used. It's always used last name Reigns. Like, no, say Memphis Reigns. That's a great name. Call him that because it's a great name. And I think that that Big Trouble in Little China definitely captures the balance of great characters and has the names that go with them.
Awesome.
You know what else is a great name? PaulJPowers.com.
That is a great name. Sometimes I'm envious, but Paul, why don't you tell us something that you thought was great about this movie? And especially, go ahead.
No, I was about to say before I do, I want to go back just a moment.
Okay.
It's interesting. I said lawyer. Other people said, how do you pronounce it? Lawyer?
Really? This is what we're doing now? Okay.
Yes, because I've always found it interesting.
Okay. Dustin, how do you pronounce it?
Lawyer?
Yeah.
Just lawyer.
For me, it's lawyer.
And Patch?
Lawyer?
Yeah, it's so weird. When it's lawyer, but it's spelled lawyer.
Do you pronounce it lawyer?
I try to. It's like I'm trying to go from coupon to coupon because that's how it's spelled. And
all right, that's fair. It's like
if you lived in a John Grisham story, it'd be lawyer because they all found out Memphis and Mississippi. But
I just thought it was interesting. We're from different areas, but we all call it lawyer. Anyway,
lawyer. Yeah.
You pronounce every English word the way it's spelled. You're in for a really hard time trying to.
No. I just think we need to ground ourselves in some ways. Anyway. I like how this movie is definitely grounded in the 80s.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And I love the 80s music in it. I think especially like when it starts out with the 80s rock music in the background, and even there's some upbeat synth music in some of the scenes. And I just think it really elevates the action and for what it is, it really grounds it in the 80s. And
absolutely,
I love it.
Yes. Awesome. Paul, let's actually double back and go to you again. What's something else you liked?
All right. This is all I had a tough time. This could easily be the classic maker for me, but Kurt Russell was just so fun to watch in this. He really made the movie for me.
This is my second like as well. So I'll play off, but continue.
No, I was about to say whenever he's on the screen, I'm even more invested. So, and other people, so He just knocked it out of the park with this role.
Nice. I will say, and you sort of alluded to this a little bit in your prediction, but for those that aren't aware, and you may not realize this unless you listen to the commentary, or did you already listen to the commentary, Paul? I don't want to.
No,
okay.
I ran out of time.
Okay, so for Paul and anyone that doesn't know, so the conceit of this movie is that you think Kurt Russell's character, Jack Byrne, is the hero, but he's actually the sidekick that thinks he's the hero. And Dennis Dunn, Wang's character, is the hero. And I don't feel like they do a great job of setting that up. At the end of the movie, I can see it, but they don't do a great job of setting it up. But I'm just curious if you knew that going in, Paul, if that would change your mind. Okay, no, it wouldn't.
No, I didn't, and no, it wouldn't change my mind. There are some moments like if he's the sidekick, why does he have the kill shot at the end?
Yeah,
not the hero.
Man.
But that's after he misses already. He gets
but I'm just saying. Yes, I can see how people say it, but it's not 100%. If they were intentionally doing that, it wasn't 100% done well as it could have.
I don't know. Like, it's a team effort.
Yeah, he wasn't. The other dude wasn't barely. I don't even think he was in the room.
He was doing something else. Anyway, okay.
Wang Chi.
But so I agree with you though. Kurt Russell as Jack Byrne. So his unmerited bravado was just so fun to watch. So I really enjoyed him. That was my second like as well. Dustin, did Kurt Russell make your second like, or was it something else?
He is. I have a list of things that I liked about this movie. He's definitely on the list. So, but I'll bring up something else.
Okay.
I really liked. I feel like this movie set out to be a comic book movie, and I feel like it nailed it. Like it wasn't. There's so many comic book movies that you're like, oh man, what a blown adaptation. You know what? Oh, they missed the mark on this. Yeah. Or maybe movies that try to be realistic, but then cross into some stuff. You're like, well, if you're going for a realistic feel, you blew it. Like that was so hokey and dumb that you missed it. I never got the feeling that this movie never knew what it was or what it was going for and strayed from it.
Yeah.
So like from the get go, you got the over the top kung fu stuff, the Kurt Russell lines of being the clueless, what's going on, being lost in this mythical world of supernatural magic stuff. And and it owned it the whole movie, even through the comical explosion of the final bad guy, or one of the final bad guys. It was like,
thunder,
but even that, I was like, it nailed it. It nailed just you're watching a comic book, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So I think this movie did that really, really well.
Yeah, it had tons of pulp, and it used that pulp very, very well. Yeah, we'll say it that way. All right, guys. Well, then that leaves our classic makers. Let's go back to Patch. What did you love most about Big Trouble in Little China?
Well, I know that we all love Jack Burton as that slapstick buffoon hero / sidekick, depending on what camp you're in.
Yes.
One of my favorite lines offhand, and this kind of signifies his greatness, is when he says to Lopan, antagonizing him, 2,000 years and he can't find one broad to fit the bill. Come on, Dave. You must be doing something seriously wrong. It's just the arrogance, the confidence that he carries.
Yes.
And when you contrast that with him in a scene earlier where they're fighting the bad dudes and he's trying to get his knife, he throws it away, he comes back, and Wang's kind of solved the problem already.
Exactly.
Those are two scenes that I think just signify this is Jack Burton in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But what really stands out to me is him and Wang's relationship from the very start to the very end. They start out, he's so unapologetic about the money. I love that scene where Wang's like, nothing to double, Jack, nothing to double. And he's not, he loses the bet, and Jack's not like, it's okay. He's like, no, I want my money. But it doesn't change their friendship. And then you see pockets all throughout the movie where they are working together. There's this great team up banter during the extraction of Mao Yin, where they're the telephone guys.
Oh, yeah, I love that part. Yes,
the way they escape the wheelchairs is fantastic. At one point, I think Wang says, "Fight together, Jack, do or die." And that's to me that kind of sums up their relationship.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. There's one exception I have, and it feels weirdly out of place. It's when they drink before they take the magic juice that makes them feel all fantastic, and it's all patriotic, and I'm just asking myself, why are you toasting America?
Because America is great.
I don't doubt that. I'm just saying
especially
in
Reagan's
China,
80s.
I was about to say in the 80s, in the middle of the 80s, it was
contextually, yes. In this movie, there's been no mention of being an American and how that supersedes everything else. That just thing, it was weird to me. You know, I'm gonna, yeah.
Yeah, I almost feel like they needed to punch that home a little bit more. I mean, you sort of get a sense of that with the girl that Gracie Law is helping to get into China, because I feel like she's she's seeking asylum or something like that. But they don't really play into that much, so it does seem a little out of place. So I see what you're saying with that. I like that little speech. I like that camaraderie, but it doesn't fit very well for this movie.
More fit in a Schwarzenegger movie or a Stallone movie at some point. But
it's funny.
Go ahead.
I did notice that as well. Just kind of the whole. It's interesting. They're toasting America in the middle of everything taking place in Little China.
Yeah.
But when they were like, "This is Patriots," I found myself just going, "America," you know.
But also Little China, you know.
Exactly.
Outside of that, though, that's really my big classic maker is Jack and Wang's relationship.
Yeah,
really like
absolutely. Awesome. Let's go to Dustin then next. What was your classic maker for Big Trouble in Little China?
All right. I don't know if this is going to make anyone's tragic makers, but I loved it for just what I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I loved the kung fu choreography in this movie.
Yeah.
And the on top of the 80s special effects with everything they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know there were cheesy fights, you know, like when Wang and one of the storms are jumping side by side, fighting through the air,
yes.
you know, with the swords. There were cheesy moments, but again, I think that was perfectly capitalized on what they were going for with the movie, with the comic book look.
Yeah,
right.
And I loved the gang fight in the middle where they're kind of stuck in the truck and you see just all the kung fu stuff happening. Jack Burton getting in the mix of trying to do kung fu in the midst of everything happening around him.
Mm-hmm.
It did it for me. I thought it was cheesy, but not too cheesy. But at the same time, they had some real martial arts people doing some fun stuff in this.
Yeah.
So that on top of the 80s lightning and special effects, I thought did it for me. And they did all of it with knives and blades, without crossing into the rated R, blood spilling everywhere.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really cool. Because, you know, my parents let me watch this as a kid. And after rewatching it for this episode, I actually thought, you know what? Probably not my 8-year-old, just because she's more sensitive to the movie stuff. Like, it really does bother her.
Yeah.
But my almost 13-year-old right now, she will love this movie.
Oh.
Like, I think she will, just based off of what she does, and she'll see all the fighting and she'll think it's fun, just a fun action laughing movie. So I really like that. The kung fu and special effects did it for me.
Yeah, awesome. I will mention though, it's kind of a sadness, because as good as they were, and this is in the trivia I was reading, John Carpenter originally wanted for the part of Wang Jackie Chan, and unfortunately, Jackie Chan turned it down. But I think that would have just made it
really early in that would have been his first American movie, right?
I think this came out after Police Story. I'm not sure what his American
Police
movie
Story
was.
that early? I didn't realize.
I guess, but the producers were worried that his English wasn't good enough because of Bronx Tale and whatnot. But but John Carpenter was like, no, we got to get Jackie Chan, but Jackie Chan said no. So a little bummed about that, though. I thought Dennis Dunn did a fantastic job. I liked him in this, but it just could have been even more, I think, cooler in that martial arts element. Awesome though. That's a great one, Dustin. I'm gonna go next, because a lot of it's been said already. But I loved this world. I think, Patch, when you said how you just want more of it, you want to find out all these little bits everywhere. Like, where'd this come from? Why is this way? And I love just the lore that this movie creates around itself, that you just get little touches of. Like, what is that sewer monster that comes out and just noms on that one guy? Where did he come from? Like, why is this blood of the earth blackness in the sewers? Like, just all this world building I just found so fantastic. And I loved all the different baddies, like Lopan, definitely, the three storms. I like the little eyeball guy that floated around. The Beastman guy, I liked him except for one element, which we'll get into later, but just so many cool things in this film, from like your sort of your cannon fodder baddies to your big bads. I just liked all the different elements that our heroes had to face. So, yeah. And I like that there was this team of heroes, not just Kurt Russell being the one man army. So that was my classic maker. And let's finish with Paul.
Well, my tragic
really
wrong
really
button. Classic maker, much better. My classic maker is basically like a lot of what Dustin was saying earlier around the tone, and basically this is an 80s adventure movie that you don't get nowadays. Like it kind of reminds me of kind of like Goonies, that just adventure. Like you go, wow, I didn't even realize. Yeah, they go down a hole, and they there's some similarities.
There's just different perils along the way they had to keep overcoming. Yeah.
Anyway, but it's just that whole fun adventure that you normally don't get nowadays. I mean, you can get it into like superhero movies and stuff nowadays, but there's this fun element that's often missing in it as well nowadays. So, and it's, if you like 80s, this is for you.
All right.
I mean, with the creature shops and everything back in the day, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the lightning. Don't forget the cool animated lightning.
That's what I meant. Yeah, the 80s effects. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, exactly, Beaker. Who would have thought San Francisco had such an interesting sewer system? Yeah, exactly. But lots of things to like about this movie, but there's probably also lots of things that we didn't care so much for.
Not so fast, gentlemen.
About this movie. Oh, thank you, Paul. I was about to go right into our dislikes, but I forgot there's one more thing I liked that I wanted to share. Oh, man, I'm so thankful that you said something, because I wanted to talk about Junkyard Juggernauts.
What?
The king and queen have disappeared. A warlord is enslaving the land, and their only hope is you and the junkyard. Junkyard Juggernauts is a pixel art infused board game for 1 to 4 players designed by Francisco Ruiz. Hey, that's me! You will play as a Mageneer, drafting cards to build the arms and legs of a magic-fueled mech, aka a Juggernaut, before taking on the warlord. With an expected crowdfunding campaign in spring 2025, there's still plenty of work to be done, and you can be in the know on Junkyard Juggernauts by going to junkyardjuggernauts.com and sign up for the newsletter.
And where is that?
junkyardjuggernauts.com.
And what does that have to do with Big Trouble in Little China?
Well, Lopan's kind of like a warlord that's trying to steal China.
The warlord is Dustin, and he wants me to join him.
Sweet victory.
Hence the joke that other people won't get from earlier.
So
what does that have to do with Little China?
Well, let me bring people in on the joke. So there was this point where Paul and Dustin were playtesting Junkyard Juggernauts. Dustin was the warlord, and Paul had the opportunity to join forces with the warlord, but Paul said, or die. And Paul's like, no, I'll die. And so he lost, and Dustin ultimately won.
Wait. What time was that when I won? Oh, it was every time.
Oh my God.
Every time so far. That's right.
My watch said all the time, but every is close.
Wow. Okay. So it doesn't have so much to do with Big Trouble in Little China, Paul. How about
that's right. We're talking about Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay, how about some trivia about this movie? Would that appease you?
Yeah,
would that appease the god person and the king and all that? I don't have to marry a green-eyed woman.
I don't know. You have to take that up with Lopan.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wait, he's dead.
Ha ha ha.
Spoiler.
Did you all realize the movie Big Trouble in Little China was parodied in A Chinatown Ghost Story 2014, which was an episode of the animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the one in the 2010s version. They even had James Hong provide the voice of a near carbon copy of Lopan named Ho Chan.
Nice.
So with that in mind, guys, if Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did a Freaky Friday type swap with Big Trouble in Little China, which 2 characters, one from each IP, would you like to see swapped? Would you like to see trade places? So let's start with Paul.
Well, the one that makes sense to me the most is you swap the Beast Man, that's creature that's hiding in Jack's truck at the end, with Slash, that turtle with like the one big eye and the one small eye and like the Wolverine claws kind of a thing.
Is that the same as Razor and TMNT?
No, it's a whole different one.
Oh, really? Okay.
All right, let me go with one that you do know.
Thank you.
Switch out Jack Burton with Casey Jones.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. But
you stole mine.
Oh, that was yours, Dustin?
I had a couple, but that was the one I was leaning towards.
Okay.
All right. Well, what were your other couple?
It would have been
Steel Patches.
Steel Patches. Well, going with the classic, the bad guys, swap out Shredder with Lopan and see what happens there.
Okay, cool. How about you, Patch?
Just to make the movie better, I would swap out Margot for April O'Neil. Let's get reporter for reporter.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Okay,
a little more flair there. You got the yellow jumpsuit going on. So that would, and I think she and my lawyer, Gracie Lawyer, would do well working together. I think.
Yeah,
I believe it's lawyer.
Lawyer. Wow, Gracie Doctor. She's a doctor.
This would be this whole plot for plot almost would be great fun to see the turtle characters, all the characters swapped out.
Oh yeah, just to see them play out their own like.
I put Michelangelo in Jack Burton's place then, if that's going to be the case.
They tried to do that, Ninja Turtles Part 3, and that was tragic. So,
good point.
You know what? That aside, the plot to Ninja Turtles 3 sounds amazing.
Well, yeah.
Execution?
Not so much.
No.
My kids couldn't finish that one. They watched the first two and loved it. Halfway through the third, can we watch something else now?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway.
Which is sad because they could bring Casey Jones back, and he's one of my favorite characters from the first one. Okay, we're not talking about TMNT3 right now.
Oh yeah, great trivia, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
And now that we've all had some trivial fun about Big Trouble in Little China, let's find out what you, the Rad Rewinders, had about Big Trouble in in Little China.
Yes. Jesse Cleva Vidal says, somebody needs to make this a shirt. I think talking about Jack Burton's shirt.
Oh, his tank top kind of
thing. With like the
wears.
Samurai and Rising Sun on it thing, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone's made a shirt of that, but.
Yeah. Anyway, Dave Mattingly says, I remember everything about this movie. I've seen it 500 times.
That is a lot of times.
Yeah.
Oh my. Who Will Save Generation X podcast says, finally, I've been waiting for this one. This movie rules. But I think Raiden from Mortal Kombat deserved a better death scene than the one he got. Wow.
True. Jeremy Shields says, a leading man actor plays the sidekick, only he doesn't know that he's a sidekick.
Exactly. Becky Smith says,
it's all in the reflexes.
And Eric Purcell says, the Pork Chop Express.
Mike Fraley remembers, it was a silly film. It was a good sick day watch.
Oh, yeah. And Andrew Simpson says that if Kurt Russell wasn't back in time, that we needed to call the president. I genuinely forgot the character's name. That's how unenjoyable this film was for me.
Wow. Okay. Well, it sounds like lots of people remember lots of things, but Andrew definitely remembered some things or not like in this movie in general. And maybe there's some reasons for it. So let's get into things we didn't like after our rewatch of Big Trouble in Little China.
Worst woos.
And I'm going to begin with Dustin this time, since you're probably didn't watch this 500 times, but maybe close. So in those several dozen thousand times, I'm sure you found something you didn't like.
There were some things I didn't like, but you guys are probably going to be a lot more nitpicky, have bigger flaws. And I think a lot of that is honestly going to come from you guys didn't see it till later, whereas I did grow up with this movie and grew up with it a lot. We watched it so much as a kid that even watching it again now, I remembered tons of it. I could quote tons of it. Like this movie was a lot of fun for me. So having said that, I honestly had to really look for things not to like really, really look, because I just enjoyed and was smiling the whole time.
Nostalgia goggles were on too tight.
I really, unobjectively like, all right, let's rewatch. I even told Francisco before, I was like, I got to watch it with a movie reviewer's mindset now, and not just I loved it as a kid. But even doing that, it was hard.
Yeah.
There was something that did drive me crazy when I was watching it. When Jack Burton was rescuing all the girls, and he's, how are you going to rescue us? I have no idea. That whole scene.
Yeah.
He starts shooting the locks.
Yes.
And none of the locks move as he's shooting the locks. He just goes, pow, pow, pow. Of course, he's shooting right at the girls in the cage. Yeah. The locks don't move, and he just grabs them and throws them off. And I'm sitting there, I just kind of shook my head. I was like, okay, that was pretty dumb. That was pretty bad. I still laughed at it, but that was very poorly in the midst of all the other special effects that have been so fun to watch. That was bad.
Yeah, totally get that. Paul, what's something that maybe a special effect or something else that didn't really work for you?
We'll start with one of those.
Okay.
Here's a general rule for all the filmmakers out there.
And this is coming from a fellow filmmaker, right? You've made several films. And all that.
You can find them all at pauljpowers.com and the lack thereof. But even as an audience member, I know you should not do a close-up on contacts of green eyes. I mean, they do a close-up on these girls wearing contacts of green eyes. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
All the faraway shots seem fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't have girls with real green eyes, don't do extreme close-ups of their contacts of them wearing. It just ruins the whole effect.
I sort of knew that it must have been, because what are the chances of them getting these actors that have green eyes?
I thought it was possible.
Oh, I guess, but so it's almost like I knew it wasn't possible, so I assumed it must have been contacts, and that's what sort of threw me.
So it's a plot point that you had a problem with.
No. I'm just sort of agreeing with you. That's all, Paul.
Okay. Well, anyway, as a filmmaker, you don't want to say, "Hey, our girls have green eyes. Look," and you're like, "Yeah, you don't." Okay, fine.
Okay, so that's one thing for you, Patch. Other than me having a fine sewer system, what was one thing you didn't like?
Hey, you should be proud of that sewer system.
Oh my gosh,
Francisco. It's tough to have one. So all of my dislikes, all of them, 50. No,
wow.
The dislikes that I had, they are portions of things that I liked. So Dustin, you mentioned the fantastic choreography. Mm-hmm. Don't disagree. However, however just negates everything I just said.
I agree with you 100%, except I don't.
Exactly. The choreography with the lady ninjas, as I call them.
That was so hard to watch.
Some of it was good, but there was some weird
she was ready to fall before the hit.
Exactly. Yes.
It wasn't just that. I think there were parts where it was slower than the male.
Yeah. I mean, the way they were I was like, oh, come on, you got to find somebody better than that.
It was something out of like a late 80s youth group choreography where you just have somebody swinging and a person goes back, and it's almost like they were rehearsing for what was going to happen later.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes.
So for me, it was probably the weakest part of the choreography, apart from the some of the more bombastic things that were going on that were unrealistic, but not in a comic book movie like this. So to me, I think that needed a little bit more love from the choreographer. Let's speed things up. Let's make it feel a little bit more organic. But that was one of mine.
Hey, Francisco, I want to get your opinion, because I took self-defense class when I was in high school.
Well,
but now
you have a black belt right here, and Patch, you can talk.
I know. I was going to get to him, and I know you took it, but as I recall, there weren't any females in my class. Were there any in yours when you took self-defense? Yes.
Yep.
Well, you got higher than I did, maybe. I don't know. And then Patch, wait, you're a black belt? Hold on. Mine is too. Mine's from Walmart. Where's yours from?
JCPenney, $3.19.
There we go.
If that makes you feel better, Paul, I have a sister who's a 2nd degree black belt.
No, it makes me feel worse, because I was trying to think like, maybe there aren't as many females interested in self-defense, so they couldn't find anyone to play those roles. But the more I'm talking, the more I'm finding out that's just not true.
No,
so it's just more of a phooey on them for not
Yeah.
finding better actors.
But to piggyback off of that wasn't one of my dislikes, but to piggyback off of what you said, I thought it was funny that those two or four girls that they had in that scene that they were fighting.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And then, there's that pretty bad choreographed fight. And then they get back up and all the backup has guns.
Yeah. Right.
Like, why didn't they just give the girls the guns? You're sitting in the room guarding everybody.
Good point.
For sure.
Oh my. Speaking of something that, why did they do it this way or not? And I guess, Dustin, you probably consider this nitpicky, but okay. In that alleyway fight, awesome fight, 3 storms come in, cool characters, like, what's going on? This is crazy. They get their knives out, and all of a sudden, I hear robot servo sounds as they raise their blades. I'm like, are these guys robots?
Yeah,
I don't remember them being robots. As we continue on the story, they're clearly not robots. So why have this weird as they raise their knife sound effect? It was so strange and out.
You think that's strange? I want to know why they can easily those 3 can take out 2 gangs easily, but they can't take out 3 guys for the rest of the movie.
Because those 3
they
guys
drank the special cocktail juice before the big.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, a patch. But no, seriously though, Patch, what's something else you didn't like? Was it that the storms couldn't take out these guys, or was there something else that was weird?
Well,
for you?
a little bit. I think for me, when you deal with an action movie, one of the things that I've loved about, I think it's this movie to an extent, and I think it's Star Wars. You always have a little droid like henchman or something floating around. Flash Gordon had this too, where you have like this little robot thing floating around that it's the eyes of the bad guy essentially. I like that guy.
Yeah,
and I thought, okay, weird, kind of creepy, and also it gets stabbed in one of its 5 eyes or things like that. I love that Jack shoots it and scares it off like a puppy. It's like, tried something, could have worked.
You never know until you try.
And I can appreciate John Carpenter's monsters in general. I did not like the monster both times that I saw him, where he grabs Gracie, and then at the end where he shows up in the Pork Chop Express. Both of those times, I'm thinking of it from, a critic point of view. Could you have used somebody else, one of the storms, to implement that? I think you could have. I think you could have replaced that character with another one. To me, it felt like an eyesore that John Carpenter was like, I want to throw in one of my weird creatures in here, and I'm going to do that. So I didn't like that one. I was fine again with the CG eyeball, like meatball thing. I don't know how you call it.
The meatball eyeball thing. Yes, I love it.
A sausage ball or something. But but I did not like whatever the monster was that showed up twice, and both times were irrelevant in my opinion.
I'll have more to say on that, though. I will say I liked the concept. Maybe we'll talk about the execution a little bit more here in a second.
What's the concept, Francisco, of that monster?
Of this like grizzly beast guy that's like, what is going on? Why is this guy here? It's like just
another question.
Part of the rogues gallery of Lopan. I like that. I like that there's different types of things.
Connect from Eternia to where Beastman is from.
Exactly. Yes.
I think Carpenter was I think go ahead, Dustin.
The hunchback of Bigfoot is what he was.
I suppose with big old teeth, like you need to get some dental work done, man. I mean, it's just I think John Carpenter was like, I haven't used this guy yet in one of my movies. Let's throw him in for good merit, and let's get my roommate from college to be the inside the costume. You want some FaceTime? Here, there you go. And
we're not going to show your face.
Yeah, we're going to get monster face, but you can just say that was me in there.
Wow, I don't think it was so much that. But maybe. I mean, I know Nick Castle, who went on to direct other movies and he played the Shape in Halloween. So maybe there was some of that. I don't know. But regardless, so you didn't like that character in general, even though I liked the concept, but whatever. Let's go to Paul for your next dislike. What's something else you don't like?
I don't know what. Sorry, I shouldn't. How do I put this delicately?
I don't know. How do you
Somebody, the captain, said that he enjoyed the acting of a certain Dennis Dunn, who played Wang Chi, which is the friend of Jack Burton.
Yeah.
Which I found atrociously acting, at least for the first, especially the first half. The back half.
I may give you some of that. I feel like he gets better as the movie goes. And
he gets tolerable as the movie goes.
Oh my
I'll
gosh,
give you that.
Paul. Okay.
I was just, and especially when playing off Kurt Russell, who is an amazing actor who can play off these subtleties in such a strong way that it was just, it was hard for me to like, I was like, oh, come on, let's get someone else in here. Sorry, Dennis.
Wow.
I hope.
Fine.
Nothing personal, but,
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go to Dustin. Why don't you tell Paul how he's wrong about Dennis Dunn, or if you don't want to do that, something else you don't like?
I'll just say that his acting didn't, for whatever reason, didn't bother me at all. I didn't even think about it as I was watching the movie. Other than
with retro goggles on, I get
it. I do think Kurt Russell was the star clearly with his acting, but I didn't look at anyone else and go, man, they're inferior compared to what he's doing. But having said that, another thing I didn't like, I know they referenced this group of people in the movie, but we never saw them. And I thought it was so dumb that we never saw any inkling of this group of people. We never saw the police in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, there was Lopan's security detail. That's kind of policey.
When I was thinking of this, I was like, well, we saw them, but they're all gang members in disguise. But you have
security guards,
buildings getting exploded. You've got automatic guns going off down the street. People throwing blades into each other. And it's not just like this happened. This person was mugged and ran away. And I know they said, do we want to call the cops? No, cops have better things to do than die anyways. But it's like in some way, shape, or form, as they're running, as whatever, you need to see the police. And you don't get any inkling of that, I don't think, until the very, very end of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's
and the very beginning, where they're asking Mr. Egg, like, you're in a lot of trouble. What's going on? Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, the interview.
That's his lawyer talking
with his lawyer.
That's his lawyer.
Lawyer.
So it was a thing for me. I was like, you would think there'd be some form of even Jack and like running away saying like, no, we don't have time to interview the police. We've got to go save the girl. Just something like that. But just to have that much explosion and gunfire and killing and not one siren of, hey, there's a mass murder happening down in Little China. We better go see what's going on.
Dude,
it never happened.
Tuesday in Little China. Come on.
That apartment building just got its roof blown off and lightning is flying everywhere. Something's happening there. No, just moving every day. Go on. Life goes on.
It's just normal. It happens all the time. All right, guys. Well, then that leaves my last dislike before we get to our tragic makers. And I'm very curious how you guys felt about this. I loved so much of, like I said before, the world building, all the like sewers, Lopan's dungeon with all his gold statues. I thought so much of this looked great, and the production design was fantastic. I did not get why in the like the pit like where the marriage ceremony is, why is there just neon lights everywhere? It feels like a mall.
Yeah.
I was so confused by that.
Yeah, I saw Spencer Gifts, I think, up on the top level, I think. Is that what was up there? Like
what did you say, Pat? Paul was playing a sound clip over it. I couldn't hear what you said.
Sorry.
So I think I saw Spencer Gifts next to like Hot Topic.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then Orange Julius was over there. Oh, that's yeah.
It was a bit small. Or they kept it going for themselves.
Have you been to Chinatown? Have you been to Chinatown in the middle of the night? There are neon lights all over the place.
But down below in like the main dungeon place
they were assimilating the culture into their lair.
It was cool.
Okay, all right, Dustin, sure. Of course, what was
corn
that
dogs over there at some point? Somebody's got corn dogs.
I thought it was cool.
Okay,
like, cool, the 80s neon, yeah.
That's fine. It didn't seem to fit compared to all the other set
Then I have all these lights flashing around me, so
I like the neon more. All right, guys. Well, then that leaves our tragic makers, the things we hid most about Big Trouble in Little China. I'll start off with mine because mine's kind of, I feel like ultimately it's pretty dumb. But Patch was saying how he doesn't like the Beastman guy, which he's wrong about, but whatever. I, though, hated how his toes were the rubbery. They don't move. Every time he takes a step, it's just like, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
it's just like, oh my gosh.
Shops of the 80s. It's part of their
silicone.
Well, no,
it's
so
part of their
don't
charm.
shoot the feet or something, or like staple them down. I don't know what you need to do, but it is just so telling that this is not real. It takes to be completely out of the scene.
Oh, it's a guy in another rubber suit.
Exactly. I can forgive the weird eyes that sort of go googly, but the toes that every time you take a step, they just vibrate. No, I'm done. So that's my tragic maker for Big Trouble in Little China.
Can you imagine if you saw somebody in real life whose toes do that? You'd be like, oh,
get out of here with that.
You're fake. You're not even real.
Exactly.
Where's the camera?
Oh,
take the mask off, Larry.
Exactly. I pull off. She's a man. Okay. Let's go to Dustin next. What is your tragic maker for Big Trouble in Little China?
Okay, so my tragic maker actually lies with the storms, the three storms.
The robot sound? I agree.
Not in their characters. I actually loved their characters.
Yeah.
My tragic maker is that we didn't see enough of their superpowers individually.
Oh,
right.
That would have been cool.
I agree. They were all cool in the game fight, and then they went to like 80s wardrobe inside. And like, why?
Oh, I kind of like that. I liked seeing them
we saw that they were masters of kung fu, right? You know, they grabbed the knives, they did the throw, they're taking on the gang. The one we saw the most of clearly was Lightning. You know, he was shooting lightning everywhere. But the other guys, it's like, okay, so we saw him breathe once, you know, and break kind of Jack off him. Like, oh, this guy can get big. The next time we see him do that, he explodes.
Yeah.
And the other guy, it's like, and the other guy, it's like, okay, so you can also fly and you're good with swords. But I know there's more to your character. And I feel like with those three guys, I would have loved to see more of these are the henchmen because they got some supernatural power. And I really wanted to see more of it. And we, aside from the lightning, we didn't see enough of what makes them supernatural.
Yeah, like Rain, I would have loved to see like have tons of like rain just fall all around him, and then people just can't get by him because they're slipping all around or something. Something water related, I think would have been cool. Thunder, I don't know exactly what you do. Him getting big is kind of cool, but him just being big and strong, I feel like was his thing.
But have him be bigger more throughout the film rather than
when he fought. And a couple saying like they could have easily in the very first gang scene, you know, when they see him, you know, like he does the and like grows and then goes into fight, like that would have established more of this is what he does. And
Hulk smash,
because you only saw him do it those two times, you know, get Jack off of him and then he exploded.
Yeah,
it's clobbering time.
Oh my word. But yeah, I can get behind that, Dustin. That would
maybe have him do one of those sonic claps that makes everybody deaf.
Oh, that would have been cool. Yeah,
so to be related to the thunder.
Yes. I like that, Paul. Let's go with Patch next. What's your tragic maker for Big Trouble in Little China?
Yes, I'm going to echo what Dustin said. The storms, the three words that I summed up with them is so much potential.
Yeah,
I thought the costumes were okay, but kind of dumb.
Okay.
The facial expressions, especially in the first appearance, they're like all trying to, you know, squeeze one out like they're on the toilet. You know, it's like, you know, it's just really, and then, you know, just the weaponry. Like, what's up with the red racquetballs getting thrown at Jack?
Have you ever been hit with a racquetball?
I have been, and I'm thinking these guys don't play racquetball. They don't need to play racquetball.
That reaction was spot on. Yep, that thing nailed him.
Reaction's great. But I'm thinking Jack Burton's continuing to go, what's going on here? Why are you not trying to beat me up conventionally like a traditional sorcerer or whatever?
Yeah. Why do you slaughter two gangs outside, but you don't?
You hit me with
let me go.
Really, and it comes down to their lack of usage. They come in and they are just they're your Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
And Bebop and Rocksteady have fun personality, whereas you get to a point, there was a moment when I watched this for the first time that stands out to me. It's the scene with the two girls and they do this like weapons demo of sorts. But thinking about it now, I'm going, what's the point? You know,
Right.
they have Conquer the Jade and whatever. It just, that seemed just dumb. Like, were they supposed to flinch? And if they flinched, they were out, that kind of thing, because of like Thunder throwing his whatever weaponry down. It's fun, but it looks like they're at a martial arts tournament showing off how well they can, you know, flick their sword. Like, I think it was, I can't remember the swordsman with the long hair, but like when he leans back and is like, look at how it's almost like he's saying, look what I can do. Like he's flirting with him or something. And then there's a moment that would never fly today when Thunder goes, pray your cards right. You live to tell about it. And the bad accent that he has.
That's his real accent because he doesn't speak English.
I know it is, but it comes off as such a parody that if you tried to do that today, you would get people going, that's not okay. That's really like offensive.
And we know how movies today are, don't we?
I get it. And I'm saying it works for the 80s, but it's very comical watching it today, thinking that even in a comic book like movie, these guys are playing serious roles. Mm-hmm. He comes across as the goofiest because of the fact that he says something like that, and then again makes that I've got to go to the bathroom face and explodes himself all over. And I think John Carpenter is like, not only do I need to use this other monster costume because it's been sitting in my closet.
Oh my gosh.
I need to do something really crazy with a practical effect. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to explode this guy, and all of his intestine things are going to fly out into the hallway before Jack and company.
I guess off. I would have loved if that was punctuated by a thunderclap when he exploded and like cracked the foundation or something. I think that would have been worth it. But why is he just exploding because Lopan died? I'm not quite sure.
He was really mad.
Really mad. Oh,
I
really
thought
mad.
he was tied to it. His powers were tied to him.
I mean, that makes sense, but then he should have just sort of started dying after.
Didn't like, I tried to zap you, and he didn't explode using his lightning.
Yeah, we're missing the backstory, the prequel. That
exactly.
That explains all that.
Exactly.
I mean, look, the only powers that worked in here were the PaulJPowers.com. Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. I will say, thinking of that hallway scene, though, where it was like the ceremony for them to go up and touch the Jade Dragon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
My takeaway from that is next time any of you guys or any of us go into a staff meeting, walk down the hallway going, swinging left and right just down the hallway as you get to your chair or your boss.
Can I do this in the back? Can I do that?
Yes, turn around, do an upside down sword wave.
Exactly.
And then to sit down and go, see how it goes.
Wow.
All right.
Well, I want to see how Paul's Tragic Maker goes. Lay it on us,
Oh,
Paul.
yeah. Let's see if I can. Tragic Maker. Yeah. This movie is, I think, basically what you guys are talking about is there's a lot of stuff that's over the top and unnecessary, a little too silly, and so much that it's gonna drive people away unnecessarily.
Uh-huh.
So my Tragic Maker is that there's a lot of this that's just way too over the top and too silly.
Okay.
See, it sounded good,
that's
but
offensive according to Patch. You can't do that.
You can do that. You just can't.
You can't do it for real. So if that was your real voice, it'd be offensive.
You live to tell about it. Play your cards right.
We live here underground. Okay. Anyway, that's fair though, Paul. That was just so too many things were too over the top. But is that your Tragic Maker? Okay. Well, now that we've entered all our trajectories into the firing computer, Alice, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo armed and ready to fire on your mark.
All right, time for the moment of truth. Do we rate Big Trouble in Little China a classic? We'd recommend anyone go see this movie, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, it's worth watching again if you remember it fondly. Maybe you're like Dustin and watched it growing up. Yeah, definitely. And maybe it's been a while. Yeah, definitely you'll have fun watching it again. But if you've never seen it before, pass this one by. Or do we rate it a tragic? It's not worth anyone going and seeing today. If you've never seen it before, keep it that way. And if you have seen it before, don't sully any good memories you might have of it with a rewatch. So we'll go around and start with our guests as we like to. Dustin, who picked this for his patron pick. Thank you again for that, Dustin. You had predicted classic. Where did Big Trouble in Little China ultimately end up for you?
So after watching it again and talking with you guys, I'm going to shock everybody with my pick.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm going to say classic for you.
Whoa, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
I had so much fun watching it again. It's been years, but watching it, I was all smiles, even picking out what I liked. I really enjoyed it. Again, I said I'm going to watch this one with my kids. This is a fun movie, and I think knowing what it is now, even I think solidifies it as a classic. Like, this is a comic book movie. This is not a go see something for its realism. Go see something like, I know Paul said one of his tragic makers was it's so over the top, but I think that's what this is. And that's what makes it so fun is it's an over the top comic book adaptation or style movie. Yeah. So I would tell anyone, that if they haven't seen it, I was like, oh, you want to see a fun 80s comic movie? Yes. Go watch Big Trouble in Little China. You're going to smile. You'll have fun.
Nice. All right. Then we'll go to, so classic for Dustin. Patch, you had predicted nostalgic. Where did it end up for you?
Well, on my rewatch here, I did go back to our conversation just to hear the first part, because when we were doing our podcast at that time, we had one word takeaways and we both said silly or I think bombastic, in line with what everybody's saying here. But I did pick out something that is sort of influencing my choice here. Oh. It's that I walked away having watched it with my wife at that time saying, man, that was a great movie. And I looked at her and she went, that's so dumb. And in truth, I really, like Dustin, I really enjoy most of this. It's fun. I don't take it seriously. And I think that's what makes it charming is the fact that it's very much self-aware. At the same time, there are parts of it that I'm like, yeah, I'll skip that. Okay, this is not. Now, they're not long. It's not like I have extended 3-4 minute fast forwarding scenes, but because I have to do that, for me, it's nostalgic. A classic one is one I'm going to watch start to finish. If it's a classic 5-star, I'm going to watch it start to finish and then rewatch it immediately afterwards. This is landing right where it should for me in the nostalgic land.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Now we like to go to our supporters. Thank you everyone who supports the podcast financially over on Locals. And we ask you guys to rate these movies collectively, being part of the final vote. And when I tally the votes, you averaged out to rate Big Trouble in Little China a nostalgic as well. So we have one classic, 2 nostalgics. Boo. Paul,
I'm surprised.
Boo. Paul, let's go to you next. You had predicted tragic. So I'm very curious if it just, stayed a tragic or if it changed at all.
Absolutely. Because you should be curious.
Am I never not curious?
Sure. Is it
lawyer or lawyer? I'm not sure.
Because this was my second time viewing, I had a little more idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it.
Okay.
For the quote unquote fun 80s over the top movie, which I think it was, like Dustin said, purposely made for. It knew its lane and it stayed in its lane on with the good and the bad. And like Patch was saying, there's some bad with it. There's some over the top with it. So, and it's definitely not for everybody. And because of that, I'm also going to rate it nostalgic.
Also nostalgic. Okay.
But I agree. Like, if you enjoyed it before, you would most likely enjoy it again. I would recommend watching it again, but it's not for everybody.
No, that's totally fair. For me, I had predicted nostalgic, but I found I feel like I was more in Dustin's camp. I just had fun. Like, I almost wanted to just have fun be my classic maker because I just had such fun watching this movie. And I feel like every time I watch it, I enjoy it more and more. So it's, I don't want to say it's an acquired taste movie. Maybe it is for some people. But I just had fun watching it. So I rate it a classic. But according to the Retro Rewind podcast, we rate Big Trouble in Little China, a disputed nostalgic film. If you've seen it before, definitely you'll have a fun evening going and watching this again. But if you've never seen it before, go watch something else. I'm curious, Patch, if maybe someone wants a movie experience like this, but you're like, no, this is a classic. You want something like this, but you're guaranteed to like it. I mean, as much as you can guarantee something like that, what would you suggest instead?
Jurassic Park.
How?
I thought for sure you were going to say Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail.
This is getting worse and worse.
The whole movie.
Oh, my. Whole movie. No, half the movie? Okay, sure.
Whole movie.
Any Disney movie ever.
Oh, my gosh, you guys. Paul, I'm curious for you.
Party, go to Adventures in Babysitting. That's what
oh, my gosh. You just had to bring that back.
Or Boy Who Could Fly.
Or Boy Who Could Fly for good spaghetti dinners and going to your room.
Yeah. Paul, how about for you? What would you suggest as more of a classic? Like, oh, definitely watch this instead.
Well, it's kind of hard, but for more of a classic for me would be Goonies. And I know not everybody loves Goonies.
Yeah.
So
we don't listen to those people.
Yeah, exactly. But to me, that's more. No, that's classic.
Okay.
All
right. Boom. Very fair. All right. Awesome, guys. Well, now that it's time to get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
ComSat Online, awaiting incoming transmissions.
You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
20XX!
Feels good to be back, but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1986 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Deborah Powers, Geek Devotions, Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Ruiz, Kennethan, Fabulous Lomax, That's Our Bobo, D. Tungsten, Mr. Lost, Gerald Hafner, Cool Deluxe, Dustin, He's a Big Teal Warford. Oh, he's right here too! Woohoo! Flux, Redeemed Otaku, in addition to 2 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help keep us flying and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
Hey, this movie had a monsters truck. And speaking of monster trucks,
don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
Wow.
Say, Francisco, are there any ways people can support the podcast without dipping into their wallet?
Oh, actually, yeah, Paul. Great question. So you listening probably enjoyed this episode if you made it this far. So if you aren't driving your Pork Chop Express, tap the share icon in your podcast player and send this episode to a friend saying, I know you like Big Trouble in Little China, so I thought you would enjoy this podcast on it.
And I'll bet they'll thank you for it.
Obviously they will.
Yeah. And speaking of thanking people, we want to give a big Trouble in Little China hug to Dustin Warford and Patch for supporting us with their thoughts about Big Trouble in Little China. So since we like to go alphabetically, we'll start with Dustin. And how can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on that doesn't require to know how to spell difficult names?
Yeah, you can find me.
Oh, I get it.
I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram with at Ghetto Kids Preacher, because I coined that when I was a children's pastor for many, many years. But I'm also now, if you go to CC Puyallup, have fun trying to spell that. PUYALLUP.com. I'm the pastor there, and you can find the stuff we're doing in our community or sermons I've given online.
Awesome.
Cool. And Patch, are you online?
I am right now.
Oh,
sure.
Cool. And if you want, do you want people to find you?
I do.
And if so, how?
Yeah. I'm sort of active on Twitter, at least in the view mode. And you can find me at Shoeless Patch. I also host a podcast called An Original Series where
that sounds interesting. I bet you have some great guest hosts on that.
I've had some okay ones, but Francisco is a good one. Francisco's been a guest. Essentially, we do episode by episode breakdowns and discussion of TV series that live behind the paywall. So if you're interested in that, we've got a bunch of different series and different seasons of those series out, including the first season of Cobra Kai with your friend and mine.
Oh yeah,
Francisco Ruiz.
Quiet. And is there a Twitter for AOS?
Yes, it's at AOS _podcast. because Elon Musk hates me. Banned my other one that was really a lot easier to say. I still can't get it unbanned because I wasn't using it quite at the time. Now I have to go and make sure I'm not spamming people with my new one. So yes, AOS_podcast. And you can find current episodes or what we've done in the past, upcoming ones and whatnot. So
fantastic.
Oh, put one of those hash browns at the end, like Hash Brown Team Cobra Kai or something. And then send it to the internet.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much again, Dustin, Patch, for being on this show. Thank you to my awesome, only a little bit of trouble in a big podcast, friend Paul, and all your rewinders, new and old, for another fun voyage. We also want to thank Alutrick for enhancing our music. Find him at alutrick.bandcamp.com or youtube.com/@alutrick. That's spelled ALLOOUTRICK, then the number 8266 for the YouTube. So thank you so much to him.
Thank you all indeed. And you can find me, pauljpowers.com, at pauljpowers.com.
Oh, .com. That's why.
It's all in the .com.
Exactly. And you can find me on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at retrorewindpodcast.com/Discord and keep in the know about the board game I'm designing, Junkyard Juggernauts, at junkyardjuggernauts.com.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
And as Lopan just said, we are now part of the Culture Box Media Network. Find all the shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media.
Awesome. Well, thank you, EXO, and thank you for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for Frailty, our next adventure with a bunch of pastors on the Retro Rewind podcast.
Retro Rewind mission complete. Proceed to base to await next mission.
Alright, we're almost out of here. Now, from here on, it gets pretty normal. Offices, storerooms, a nice false front. I count to 3. I open that door, and we move out.
Everybody got that.
Ready? Follow the leader. 1, 2, 3. She may be trapped,